My name is Margaret Hayes, and I'm 72 years old. I've lived a full life, raised 3 children, buried a husband, and learned more about human nature than I ever wanted to know. But nothing, absolutely nothing, prepared me for what happened at my son Daniel's house last Tuesday evening. Let me start from the beginning, because every good story deserves proper telling. Daniel is my youngest. 45 years old, kind-hearted, maybe a little too trusting. He married Vanessa 8 years ago, and from the very first day, I knew something wasn't quite right. You develop an instinct about people when you've lived as long as I have. Vanessa was beautiful, polished, always dressed like she was attending a charity gala, even when she was just running to the grocery store. But there was something cold behind those perfectly made-up eyes. Still, Daniel loved her. And when you love your children, you learn to accept their choices, even when your heart whispers warnings. I lived modestly in a small apartment across town. My late husband Thomas and I had never accumulated much wealth. We poured everything into raising our children with love and values. After Thomas passed 5 years ago, I got by on Social Security and a tiny pension. It wasn't much, but it was mine, and I was content. Vanessa never understood contentment. That Tuesday, Daniel invited me for dinner. He said Vanessa wanted to cook something special. I should have known better, but hope is a stubborn thing. I thought maybe, just maybe, she was finally warming up to me. I wore my best dress, a deep blue number I'd been saving. I even put on the pearl earrings Thomas gave me on our 30th anniversary. When I arrived, Daniel greeted me with his usual bear hug, lifting me right off the ground despite his bad back. "Mom, you look beautiful," he said, his eyes crinkling with genuine warmth. The dining room was set elegantly. Candles flickered on the table, and classical music played softly in the background. Vanessa emerged from the kitchen wearing a designer dress that probably cost more than my monthly rent. She kissed both my cheeks, leaving the faint scent of expensive perfume. "Margaret, so lovely you could join us," she said with that practiced smile that never reached her eyes. We sat down to dinner. The food was catered, I could tell, though Vanessa pretended she'd slaved over it all day. Daniel was chatting about his work at the engineering firm, clearly trying to keep the conversation light and pleasant. He was always the peacemaker, then. Vanessa set down her fork. The sound of sterling silver against fine china echoed in the suddenly quiet room. "Margaret," she began, her voice dripping with false sweetness, "Daniel and I have been talking. We're concerned about your living situation." I felt my stomach tighten. "My apartment is perfectly fine here." "Well, that's just it." She leaned back in her chair, crossing her arms. "At your age, living alone in that neighborhood, it's not really safe, is it?" Daniel shifted uncomfortably. "Vanessa," we agreed. She cut him off with a wave of her manicured hand. "We think it might be time for you to consider assisted living. There are some very nice facilities that I don't need assisted living," I said quietly. "I am perfectly capable of taking care of myself." Vanessa's smile grew sharper. "Are you though? Daniel's been helping you with rent for months now. It's becoming quite a burden." The room went silent. Daniel's face turned red. This was clearly news he hadn't wanted shared. "Daniel," I turned to my son. "You didn't need to." "Of course I did, Mom. Yeah, my mother." Vanessa laughed, but there was no humor in it. "See, this is exactly what I'm talking about. You're draining our resources, Margaret. Do you know how much Daniel sends you every month? Money we could be using for our own future." Something cold settled in my chest. "I never asked for anything, but you took it, didn't you?" Vanessa's mask was slipping now, revealing the cruelty underneath. "You know what I told Daniel yesterday?" I said. "You're not even half the woman my mother is, because my mother, at least, had the dignity to be self-sufficient." The words hung in the air like poison. I felt frozen, not from shame, but from shock. After all these years of polite tolerance, she'd finally shown her true colors. Then I said it, quietly, calmly, with all the dignity my 72 years had taught me. "Then perhaps she can start paying your rent." Vanessa's eyes went wide. "Excuse me. If your mother is such a superior woman, surely she can help support the lifestyle you've become accustomed to." "Because, Vanessa, I know exactly what you've been doing." Daniel looked confused. "Mom, what are you? Your wife," I continued, my voice steady, "has been having an affair with Richard Pemberton for the past 6 months. Richard, your business partner, the man you trust with your company's future." The color drained from Daniel's face. Vanessa went rigid. "That's absurd," she stammered. You're a bitter old woman making up. I reached into my purse and pulled out a folder. My hands didn't shake. Inside were printouts, dozens of them. Photos, text messages, bank statements showing hotel charges. Your password is Daniel's birthday, dear. You really should be more careful. I slid the folder across the table. My neighbor's grandson is quite good with computers. Generation Z, they call them. Wonderful with technology. Daniel opened the folder with trembling hands. With each page he turned, something broke in his eyes. Vanessa stood up so quickly her chair fell backward. You had no right. I had every right, I said, still calm. I'm his mother, and when someone hurts my child, I pay attention. I've been watching you for 3 months, Vanessa. Every Thursday shopping trip, every girls' weekend that was actually spent at the Riverside Hotel downtown. Every lie, Daniel. She's manipulating you. Vanessa reached for his arm. He jerked away. Don't touch me. His voice was broken glass. In that moment, I saw my little boy again. The one who'd cried when his goldfish died. The one who'd believed the best in everyone. How long? He whispered. Vanessa's face twisted. It just happened. It didn't mean how long. 6 months, I answered when she couldn't. But she's been planning to leave you for 8. She's been moving money into a separate account. There are documents in that folder showing she's been consulting with a divorce attorney. Daniel's hands were shaking as he read. I watched my son's heart break in real time, and I wished I could have spared him this pain. But sometimes the truth, however brutal, is the only kindness we can offer. I want you out, Daniel said finally. Tonight. Pack a bag and leave. Everything else we'll handle through lawyers. Vanessa's composure shattered. You're going to believe her over me, your own wife. My wife wouldn't have said those things to my mother. My wife wouldn't have stolen from our account. My wife. His voice cracked. My wife wouldn't have done any of this. She grabbed her purse, her movements frantic. At the door, she turned back, mascara running down her face. You'll regret this, both of you. I'll take everything. You already tried, I said softly. But you made one mistake, Vanessa. You underestimated an old woman with time on her hands and a son to protect. After she left, Daniel and I sat in silence. The candles had burned low, and the food had gone cold. I'm so sorry, he finally said. What she said to you, I had no idea. She hushed now. I took his hand. You have nothing to apologize for. Love makes us blind sometimes. That's not weakness. That's human. How did you know about everything? I smiled. Because I'm your mother, and mothers always know. Plus, Mrs. Chun in my building has a grandson who's very good with cybersecurity. He owed me a favor after I helped him with his college essay. Daniel laughed. A broken sound, but a laugh nonetheless. You're amazing. You know that? No, sweetheart. I'm just a mother protecting her cub. It's what we do. We talked until midnight. About red flags he'd ignored. About how he'd felt something was wrong but couldn't name it. About healing and moving forward. 3 months have passed since that dinner. Daniel's doing better. The divorce is proceeding. And thanks to the evidence I'd gathered, Vanessa won't be taking much. Richard Pemberton is no longer his business partner. Daniel's found a good therapist and joined a support group for people recovering from infidelity. As for me, I'm still in my little apartment. Daniel still helps with rent sometimes, but now I let him because I've learned something important. Accepting help isn't weakness. It's trust. It's love. Last week, Daniel brought over dinner. He cooked it himself this time, and while it wasn't fancy, it was made with love. We ate in comfortable silence, and then he said something that made my heart full. I spent so long looking for someone to complete me that I forgot I came from someone who was already whole. Thank you for reminding me what real strength looks like. I'm 72 years old. I've loved, lost, fought, and forgiven. But that night at dinner, I learned that sometimes the greatest act of love is standing up when you're expected to sit down. Sometimes kindness means delivering hard truths, and sometimes an old woman with pearl earrings and a stubborn heart is exactly what the world needs. I froze that night, but not from fear or shame. I froze time itself, creating a moment of reckoning that changed everything, and I'd do it again. In a heartbeat, because mothers never stop protecting their children. Not at 72. Not ever.